wanna start off by just noting some things. I'm asking that there's no talking out of turn. If everybody could silence their cell phones, please, because, during some of the meetings, people's phones are going off, so if you can silence that. And then also I need to make an announcement because we all know the weather that's happening outside. If Brandon gets a call, he's going to have to leave. So we don't want any, that being misconstrued as him walking out on people. So if that happens, he'll have to let us know. So I appreciate that. So before we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to take a moment of silence to remember our dear friend and member of the Woodbury community, Michael Queenan. Let us pray for his family and the loved ones as they deal with this intense sorrow and loss. Let us pray for Mike that he rest in eternal peace. Mike was an integral member of this community and he gave himself unconditionally to so many, and he will be profoundly missed. So I ask if we can all stand. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to the town board meeting this Thursday evening, February 20th, and for coming out in this frigid temperature and this weather. Let me take a moment to introduce the town board. On my extreme left is council member Sandra Criglione. They're switching it up on me tonight. Then there is council member Brandon Clory. In the center is council member Robert Beckley, who's actually absent right now because of the fact that he's out plowing the snow for us. On my immediate left is Deputy Supervisor Teresa Longo, and for the first time at this table this evening is Deputy Town Clerk Lily Lopez. We'll open the floor to public comments on agenda items only. I ask that everybody limit their conversation, or their comments to 5 minutes. We'll start off with the first row. Next row. Behind that.
My name is Kathy Schmidt. I am here. Can you hear me? Yes. Oh, okay. I'm here on behalf of Woodbury Public Library. Just to avoid any confusion, the MOA that you guys have posted tonight is a little bit different than the one that we adopted on the 6th. MOU, yes, thank you. Is different than the one we adopted on the 6th. So if you guys do approve it tonight, just to avoid a confusion, the library commits to rescind their approval of the February 6th MOU, and then we'll re-adopt the new one if that's what you guys decide tonight. Sit down.
Thank you. All right. Anybody behind Catherine's row? Joey, Bob.
Is that the microphone?
There you go, just stop.
Is it the microphone that's making noise, or is someone?
The speaker right here.
The speaker,
That
is
speaker
it?
right
It's- I know you know me, Kelly, but I'm gonna sign my name. I know you. Don't go there. I wanna thank the attorney and the board, and whoever else was together. You're answering the door.
Yes.
And I did notice the 2 changes in the MOU, and I appreciate that, that the comments that were made were recognized by everyone, that the changes were done. And I truly appreciate the change on page 7, adding that if either party wishes to propose an amendment, both parties shall engage in a discussion to review and agree on the proposed changes before any modifications are made. So thank you for adding that, and that makes me feel a little bit better, that at least the board, the library, report and make a decision, so I truly appreciate that everyone did take notice about that. And, the attorney's not coming tonight?
He has a prior engagement, so we were gonna open it up and then we can have him on through video if we need.
All right, because I was gonna ask that since the attorney isn't physically present here, and we don't wanna bother him at his other appointment, and we don't have a full board, I'm just gonna request that the board postpone signing this agreement until we have a full board and our attorney's present, that if we have any questions, that he can answer those, you know, with legalities. So, thank you.
Anybody in the row behind that?
I guess I missed one of the closing first. I can sit back there if you'd like. Hi, hello everyone. Martha Lopez, Harder Mills. Once again, I'll talk about the MOU. While I understand that public input is not required, I ask that you consider your responsibility to protect the office you were elected to serve. As written, this MOU does not benefit the town, and if I'm wrong, I welcome an explanation of how this agreement serves the best interests of Woodbury residents. For starters, have you looked at alternative insurance policies that allows the town to retain control over the policy, which would be a more appropriate approach for ensuring the town-owned building that houses the library? Under this agreement, the library controls the terms while using taxpayer money, which is simply not fair. While I understand covering the library's assets such as books, furniture, and stuff like that, and ensuring the structure itself while naming the library as the insured raises lots of concerns. I emailed the town attorney to ask him whether he believes he has a responsibility to ensure this agreement protects the town's interests, but I have not yet received a response from him. I doubt if I will. I would appreciate clarification on whether it is standard practice for a municipality to insure a town-owned building while naming another entity as the insured for structural damage. Additionally, this MOU should not be open-ended. Most agreements, like IMAs, require periodic reviews, typically every 2 or 3 years. Would the board consider adding an expiration date to allow for reassessment and necessary adjustments to ensure fairness and fiscal responsibility? I look forward to your responses. I guess I can answer.
Okay, anybody in the back row?
You got some people.
Anybody else who came in that wants to
Okay,
speak?
someone's coming. What was that? Oh, people coming in.
Alright, so now we're gonna move on. Can I have a motion and a second to amend the agenda to discuss old business first due to that our attorney has a prior commitment?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. So we'll call our attorney and we'll have him on the phone, so this way he can be on while we discuss this.
Is that even legal?
It is.
Is it?
With your attorney, it's legal to have your attorney that can,
I'm not
conference.
on Zoom, but on FaceTime?
No, on Zoom. Well, it's through FaceTime. When we did our, resolution, it can be anything that is, as long as he is recorded and his face is recorded, he's allowed to be on. Well, if he doesn't pick up, we can begin with the old business, the signing and initialing of the MOU for the library. Post the town board meeting held on February sixth, the board tabled this action based on residents' requests. Updates were discussed with the library trustees and changes were made to the MOU. I have a motion and a second to have myself and Deputy Supervisor Monzo, Councilmember Capriglione sign and initial the updated MOU between the town board and library trustees.
I'll make motion.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Yes. Okay, so, based on the questions that were asked at the last meeting, I went back to our insurance agent, Marshall and Sterling. I asked some questions, one being who receives the claims payment check in case of damage to structure or assets. The other was the cost of the premium for insurance for Central Valley Library is $4,600. If the library was to go get their own insurance, this is what I was told, but first I asked, will it cost more? And then I got a response, it will cost more, therefore costing the taxpayers more money. And we have Stephen Talmadge from Marshall and Sterling, he said he would be willing to come here and elaborate, answer any questions that the board has. And so, based on those questions, can you answer or elaborate on any of them?
We're just gonna try to change the microphone on if you don't mind.
You got this one, yeah.
Just gotta hold it down, so yeah.
Till later.
Yep, there you go, okay, there we go. Regarding the premiums, right now, the town pays $4,600 for the building insurance. There's actually no additional charge for the general liability in the public, the directors and officers, and the workers' comp is just whatever the payroll is. If we were to set up a separate policy, it would probably cost a bit more for the property. There will be an additional charge for the general liability, the directors and officers policy with the employment practices liability, and the excess policy, which is automatically covered under the town's policy. So it would probably be a substantial amount. I mean, we're probably talking, it could be, upwards of $10,000 or $15,000 additional for all those coverages.
So, you're talking about $15,000 or $16,000 versus $4,600.
Well, it's $4,600 right now for the building,
Yeah.
and then the workers' comp is whatever the payroll is. Although, right now through the current carrier, it's non-auditable. If they were on their own, it would be a fully auditable policy. So it could potentially be, as payrolls go up, it would actually be slightly higher than what you're paying now.
Okay, so it's gonna cost significantly more money, which comes from the taxpayers, since they fund our budget.
Yes,
for the
yes.
budget.
And we have other cases where we do insure some of the other libraries as well, and it is, the library's insurance is actually quite costly.
And in terms of if there was going to be a claims loss, so right now, the way the insurance is, there would be a check cut out to the town of Woodbury and the Woodbury Public Library. And from what I understand, the check first goes to the town of Woodbury, since we're the first named insured.
Correct. The check would be made out to the first named insured, which is the town of Woodbury.
So the library could not just take the check and go spend this on anything else? Whatever, they felt like wasting it on something else.
No, the check would only be made out to the town of Woodbury. And then the town of Woodbury can either deposit it and pay the expenses, or they could potentially sign it over to the library, but it would only be made out to the town of Woodbury.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Steve, I just had a question. So prior to last year, the Central Valley Library building that's owned by Woodbury Public Library has always been on the town's insurance.
Yes, we look back and it's, since we've had it, it's been on there.
Okay, but only under the town of Woodbury. So had that building burned to the ground and Nymer pulled the deed and found that it was owned by Woodbury Public Library, what would have happened?
Well, the library just got added, within the last year.
Yeah.
So the check, had the deed been pulled and it been found under the library, there would've been the big question. I don't know if it would've been paid because it wasn't an insurable interest at the time.
Okay. And just so the public understands, when we sat down to begin this MOU, and we tried to turn every stone over that we could possibly think of. That was a glaring problem that came up, that the town was insuring that building under the town's policy, but had there been a claim, there probably wouldn't have been a payment, or it at least would have been messy. So that was why we went to Marshall and Sterling and Nymer, and we discussed what we could do. We were asked a series of questions about Woodbury Public Library, gave them all the answers, and that's why they were added to the town's policies as the second named insured. So I just wanted to make people aware of that this building has been on the town's policy for years and years, past administrations. Nothing was ever said. Insurance payments were made, and had there been a claim, there would have been no coverage, so.
Correct, it would have been payable to, if there was a loss, a large loss, they would pull the deed, and when it was discovered that it wasn't named insured or anyone on the policy, it probably wouldn't have been paid if there was a lawsuit against the insurance company. I don't know how it would play out, but there's a very good chance it would never have been paid out.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Supervisor, just a question of a point,
I asked if nobody calls out during the meetings.
no, just a point of order,
No.
because if this gentleman who's with Marshall and Sterling would have explained to the public before public participation of understanding of the insurance, some of us could have asked some kind of question, so I find this totally out of order, and I oppose the way you changed the agenda, because it's not right.
It's not on
Thank
the
you.
agenda.
Excuse me, Teresa, Ms. Luongo, but what I'm asking is that if Mr., I think that's your name, Marshall and Sterling, if he would have said something in the beginning, the rest of us who are not knowledgeable as Sandy is, or the gentleman, we would have had a better understanding. You're stopping the public from asking questions at a public agreement, and I apologize for stepping out of order.
No, you can ask questions at the end.
Yeah, but you're making a point to
Hold on a
vote, and
second.
that's wrong.
You don't have your thing on.
Oh, sorry, hold on, get my mic on.
Sure, hang on for this one, please.
I know.
If the attorney's on the phone, because he's in the prior arrangement.
Hold on, I have a better mic.
Oh, good lord.
Joey, do you know why it's so low?
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
Better mic. Okay, I know.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
No?
No.
Teresa, you can just tell them that what the attorney's saying is it's not subject to a public hearing. And it's been afforded, the opportunity for the public's input, but you asked for, both to council and to the board, some proof that insuring them is legal and okay, and that's been okayed by the attorney, and we brought the person from the insurance company, and it's still not satisfactory, so nothing that's gonna be said from either professional is going to satisfy anybody. There's not really much more for discussion. So I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I don't know what else, if the lawyer's saying it can be done, and the person that's insuring the policy says it
It's
can
your
be done,
microphone.
I'm not sure what else wants to be heard that would be satisfactory. It seems like it will never be satisfactory, so it seems I don't know what to tell you at that point.
Could I just add one other thing?
If we can't talk about it.
Public hearing, so the idea that there's afforded the same rights at a public hearing, the board has listened to the last time, went back, made the adjustments, as to the feedback, so I don't, at this point, think those issues were addressed.
I agree.
Sandy has a question.
Well, I don't have a question, I just wanted to make one other explanation as far as the legality of it. When we got to the point, after working for a solid year on everything that we could think of that could possibly come up, the document was drawn up, and both boards, our board and the library board, met with our attorneys, with Peter, our prior attorney, and with Dan Pettigrew, the attorney for the library board, and we spent, 2 hours, I think it was? And rather than just rely on the attorney saying, okay, it's good, we went over every single line in the MOU. Some, we went over a couple of times, some, Brandon brought up a point, I think Kate brought up a point. So this was gone over and looked at by two separate attorneys, one on behalf of the town, one on behalf of the library board, and we came to an agreement, and both attorneys said the document is good to go. And now Rory is on board, and he's looked at the document, and he said that everything is in order. So, I don't know what else the public wants. Like I say, a public hearing was not required. You have all the documents, and I think at this point, we've satisfied more than what a public hearing probably would have accomplished. So, that's all I have to say.
Think about indemnification of the school using their parking lot.
I'd also just like to make one mention, I had messaged our attorney because Martha, you had made a comment that, you did not receive an email back from our attorney, but he actually did email you, and I have the email here,
One.
so. 6:07, I think it was, but I don't know the date.
Today, because I didn't receive anything, and I didn't check it.
Just letting you know that he did,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
All right, after that, any discussion further?
Yeah, I got something else. For the record, this is the first time any board actually went and looked through everything with the library and came up with an MOU. Previous library liaisons never did, very rarely attended. So if there was an issue in the last couple of years, it's gonna be brought up then. The last year we've been talking about it, people could have came to the library board meetings and, said something then. Anyone's welcome to go to the library board meetings, the last Tuesday, or the fourth Tuesday of the month. And that's it.
Thank you, Teresa. I would also like to mention that, when I got on the board, going into my fourth year, is when Tim and I started having a lot of meetings with the library and the boards, and Tyler Etzel was actually present in those meetings, and then when Brandon got involved, he got involved in them. And it wasn't until Sandy and Teresa really stepped forward and put tons of time and effort into this. And just like everybody else had said and our attorneys have said, there's nothing written in this MOU that is not education law. We are following the law. Our attorneys had advised us that we're following the law. So, everything in there, we have 2 lawyers telling us legally, 3 lawyers, so. All right, are we done with the discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Next, we'll move on to administrative business, acceptance of minutes. Can I have a motion and a second to accept the receipt of the minutes on the meeting held on February 6, 2025?
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Next, approval of abstract 3. Kelly, can you please read the abstract for this meeting?
Abstract 3 containing vouchers 250, sorry. Where's that? Hi, sorry. Abstract 3 containing vouchers 250-277 through 250-340, totaling $297,026.60.
Can I have a motion and a second to approve abstract 3 as read? Oh, thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Make the motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Next is modifications to the 2024 and 2025 budget. Kelly, can you please read the modifications submitted for the 2024 and 2025 budget prepared for this meeting?
Sure. Alright, so I have the library, for 2024 increasing L 7410.402, electricity by $25.24. L 7410.410, building maintenance by $1,606.06. L 7410.411, office supplies by $530.63. L 7410.465, processing supplies by $104.03. L 9060.800, health insurance by $764.51, and they are decreasing. L 7410.100, personal services by $3,030.77. For the general fund for 2024, increasing A 1420.461, attorney reimbursable and escrow by $312. A 2776, reimbursement consultants by $312. A 1650.400, central phone system by $4,000. A 1680.400, which is subscriptions for computer, with Microsoft programming by $246.81. A 3510, expenditure of donations by $1,281.82. A 2706, 80 CO donations by $1,281.82. A 3510.404, water bills by $100.45. A 3510.416, uniforms by $66.78. A 3510.431, vet fees and medications by $764.41. A 2404, by class interest by $4,246.81. And they are decreasing. A 3510.453, vehicle gas, oil, and repairs by $931.64. For refuse, they are increasing SR 8160.100, personal services by $929.31. SR 9030.800, FICA by $17.40. SR 9060.801, the health insurance for the HRA by $1,700, and increasing SR 2404, night class interest by $2,646.81. For the police, increasing B 1380.400, fiscal agent fees by $436.62. B 1980.400, MTA tax by $67.89. B 3020.100, personal services by $225.45. B 3120.401, for the telephone by $892.31. B 3120.410, copier rental by $81.02. B 3120.411, office supplies by $587.66. B 3120.489, canine training and maintenance by $143. B 9061.800, dental insurance by $87.74. B 3120.454, vehicle gas by $3,625.91. B 1520, police fees by $3,031.92, and decreasing heating oil and gas by $3,115.68. Building and grounds / parks, increasing A 0599, appropriated fund balance by $296,417.03. A 1620.465, blacktopping by $75,000. A A 1620.462, repairs and materials by $43,096.97. A 7110.404, Brickley Playground Equipment and Installation by $144,465.56. A 7110.200, equipment by $19,854.50. A 74110.481 for tennis court repairs by $10,000. And a 7110.417 field maintenance by $4,000.
Thank you, Kelly. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the modifications to the 2024 and 2025 budget as read and explained?
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Next is acceptance of resignation of Lee Smith. Can I have a motion and a second to accept Edward Smith's resignation from the position of part-time dispatcher effective on January 20th, 2025?
I'll make the motion.
With regret, I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Next is the acceptance of resignation of M. Gans. Can I have a motion and a second to accept Matthew Gans' resignation from the position of part-time dispatcher effective on January 20th, 2025?
I'll make the motion.
So Sandy will second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Next is the appointment of senior citizen activity leader, A. Rocky, I'm sorry. How horrible. Can I have a motion and a second to appoint and promote Alexandra as part-time senior citizen activity leader effective January 24th, 2025 at a grade level 5 with an hourly pay rate of $24.34.75?
Make the motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Alex has taken the lead at the senior center and deserves this promotion, and we wish Alex much success in her new role.
Absolutely.
Next is the appointment of senior citizen activity leader, A. Camillo. Can I have a motion and a second to appoint Aaliyah Camillo as a part-time senior citizen activity leader effective February 24th, 2025 at a grade level 5, an hourly pay rate of $24.34.75?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Next, under new business, so we're adding in for new business, the changing of our meetings, coming up to, the spring and the summer, we're gonna be changing our meetings to 6:30 PM. Can I have a motion and a second to change the meeting time to 6:30 PM?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Kelly, can you read the resolution?
At a meeting of the town board of the town of Woodbury, County of Orange, State of New York, held at the town of Woodbury, Justice Court, 511 Route 32, Highland Mills, New York, on the 20th day of February 2025, the following resolution was introduced. Whereas the town of Woodbury Town Board seeks to change the town board meeting start time from 7:30 PM to 6:30 PM. And whereas the town board has discussed and reviewed any applicable regulations relating to the change of time. And whereas having consulted with the town attorney for the town of Woodbury Town Board, and whereas it is in the best interest of the town of Woodbury Town Board to change the start time of the town board meetings from 7:30 PM to 6:30 PM, while maintaining the meeting on the first and third Thursday of the month. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Woodbury Board hereby changes the monthly town board meeting start time to 6:30 PM effective March 1st, 2025, continuing into perpetuity until otherwise changed by resolution or other legally acceptable procedure. Can I have a roll call? Councilmember Luongo?
Aye.
Councilmember Capriglione?
Aye.
Councilmember Clory?
Aye.
Supervisor Luciano?
Aye.
Did you make a motion?
Yeah, well, I think, we should do that first.
Make a motion?
Thank you for reading the resolution. Can I make a motion and a second to accept the resolution as read?
Make the motion.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. All right, now Kelly, can you do
I just did.
Well, we'll do it over again, just to make sure.
Can I have a roll call? Councilmember Luongo? Councilmember Criglioni,
Aye.
Councilmember Flori,
Aye.
Supervisor Luciano.
Aye. Thank you. Now move on to authorize the supervisor to sign the IMA with the town of Monroe for the dial-a-bus. I met with many community members discussing the opportunity to increase the number of days the town can get to access the Monroe dial-a-bus. I was able to negotiate one more day, so I'm happy to share that we'll have access to the dial-a-bus 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and extending it till 5:30 p.m. Can I have a motion and a second to authorize myself to sign the dial-a-bus agreement with Monroe, which will give the Woodbury residents 2 days bus service totaling $15,960.
Make the motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Next, authorize the town clerk to advertise for bids for the park concession vending. Can I have a motion and a second to authorize the town clerk to advertise for bids in the Times Herald Record for vending concessions, which will cover a 3-year duration?
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Please note, when submitting any bids, they must be in a sealed envelope and submitted by March 16th at 10 a.m. They can either be hand-delivered to the town clerk's office at 615 New York Route 32 or mailed to P.O. Box 1004, Highland Mills, New York. Next, we'll move on to letters of interest for the Parks Committee and Beautification Committee. Can I have a motion and a second to authorize the town clerk to advertise for letters of interest to fill vacancies in the Parks and the Beautification Committees?
Make the motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Next is Department Reports, Committee Minutes. Supervisors Report, January 2025. Kelly, can you please read the Supervisors Report for January 2025?
January 2025 Supervisors Report with receipts totaling $4,038,784.79 and disbursements totaling $988,781.63.
Thank you, Kelly. Can I have a motion and a second to accept the January 2025 Supervisors Report as read?
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Then for the month of January 2025, we received additional reports submitted by town departments. They are as follows: the town clerk's report, animal control report, police communications report, building and grounds report, Parks and Recreation Committee minutes, January 21st, 2025, library director report, library board minutes from January 28th for their monthly and annual meeting, Beautification Committee minutes for January 16th, 2025, and the budget versus actual for January 2025. Now we'll move on to public comments on any topics. Again, limit your, to 5 minutes. We'll go row by row. Anybody in the first row? Second? Just make sure the microphone's working.
Just signing in.
Hold it down.
There you go.
Okay, Thursday, Colorado, just a small question. If the meeting is gonna be on 6:30, maybe I don't know the dates of the court. The court is normally 5 p.m. and it's like now 6:37. Is it in the same dates or it's gonna be like walking in, walking out?
No, different days.
Different days, okay.
Thank you.
Kathy Schmidt, Woodbury Public Library. Thank you. This was a long time coming. We'll talk to that, but Dottie, this is for you. She has been my mentor and she has hoped for this for so long. I do wanna say, there's still so much confusion about this document. This document just outlines what has been in place for years. There's, as you guys know, there's hardly anything new in the document, it's just written down. And that was the whole reason we did the document, as you know, because so many people did not know the true relationship and roles of the boards. So I am so grateful on behalf of the board. I will be calling Dottie tomorrow. We will put this in front of our board meeting on Tuesday, the 25th, next week. We'll rescind our last vote, we'll re-vote it in, and then I will print out 2 copies, and we'll have to work on getting the signatures. I'll get the adopted deed in, and we'll figure that out, and you guys will end up with 1 copy, and we'll end up with 1 copy, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Charles.
Martha Lopez again. So, the other day, a resident approached me, and I was really bothered by, a question that they asked me. And they asked me why I hate the library. Which couldn't be further from the truth, right? Not only am I an educator for young children, but I also use the library. I take them to trips to the library. I love the library. So I questioned them, and I said, why would you say that I hate the library? Like, where did that come from? I've never stated that I hate the library. Where did that come from? And to my surprise, they said Catherine Shiani, the supervisor. So my question to you is, have you told anyone in the community that I sued the library?
Did I tell them that you sued?
Yeah,
the
that
library?
I was suing any town offices, or that I sued the town at any point?
No.
No? Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Hi, how are you? Patricia Spear, 19 Summerhill. So I just have a question. So the library was separate from the town in 2023, am I correct?
What do you mean
The
by?
library-
What do you mean by
The
separate?
library then became its own entity in 2023.
No, you're wrong.
I'm wrong? I'm wrong. So then the library should be submitting their paperwork to the town.
No.
If you guys admitted that the library is separate from the town. So shouldn't the taxpayers be the ones that are voting on this?
We're not a public free library, like Monroe is a public free library, so therefore they do have taxpayers that vote on their library.
So
We are
then
not
she
that,
should
we're
be,
a
she should be
municipal library.
doing, she should be submitting documents to the town, since you guys are voting
No, Patricia, you're
behalf
wrong.
of us.
You have to read the MOU to understand the relationship between the town and Woodbury Public Library. But what you said is absolutely wrong.
Anybody else in that row? The next row?
Robert Hunter, what's the point in moving the meeting to 6:30?
We as a board decided to move it to 6:30.
You didn't answer my question.
So the point is, so then we can have our attorney-client sessions or executive sessions afterwards according to open meetings law,
If we need.
if necessary.
You're making it harder for people to attend the meeting by having it at 6:30. Because there are commuters who have to get home, and if they want to attend the meeting, they won't be able to do it at 6:30. So I think you should reconsider that, because if you want to attend this meeting, you gotta find the time to do it. Having it at 6:30 puts a burden on it.
We also get the flip side,
Yeah,
when
we
our
got a lot.
meetings go 2-3 hours, people have to leave because they work early the next day.
Or
So,
people have young
the
kids and have been
catch-22.
told that they can't come or they can't stay because of the fact that the meetings are so late. So we try to make like a in-between accommodation, so obviously not 5:30, not 6:30. So instead of 7:30, where it was a lot later. So we put a lot of thought and ideas into it. So we'll do it for the spring and summer and see how it goes, and if it doesn't work out, then we can change it back.
Fine.
That stopped me ringing. My phone is off, right? Maria Hunter, I'm gonna speak louder because everyone needs to learn to speak up and not mumble behind a microphone. And if that's offensive to anyone, I'm sorry for that. Couple of things. I agree with Robert Hunter about the 6:30 start time. There are commuters, there are parents who are home who have to get dinner for their husbands, their children, and whoever else they have to take care of. And I'm sorry that this board chose this time, because as elected officials, you ran for this position knowing that you had to put time into this. You ran for the position of your office. You knew what was involved with this, and I'm a little upset with that, because if this meeting would have started at 6:30 tonight, I couldn't be here, because my husband had an emergency plumbing call, and we didn't get to eat dinner until 6:30. It went off again? I don't know what's wrong with these mics, I'm not even touching it, it's going off. But the thing of it is, everyone knows on that board, residents, they know I come out, and I try to do what's best for myself, the community, and the residents. And by changing this time, and you're going to see what it turns out to between spring and summer, but that's not what the resolution said. You said basically forever. So what was in the resolution, and what you just said to Robert Hunter, you're gonna see with the spring and the fall, doesn't match. I'm sorry, I picked on things like this. The budget modification, oh, I left it over there. I submitted a budget modification on behalf of the beautification committee to Eileen on the 13th of February, because I wanted to get in before time. It wasn't acknowledged. And this is something, I can speak, this won't stay on, this is dead. I'm sure everyone can hear me anyway. I know the procedure to request for a budget modification, to carry over to next year. To continue the project that we have with 60 pole decorations, I asked for my budget to be completely down to zero, and we would accept, and we would pay from this year's budget to, because the balance, it wasn't enough that was left over. And I see, because I copied Eileen, and I think,
Myself.
and yourself, and I think Joey on it. So I'm a little disappointed that wasn't acknowledged.
Maria, was that emailed in?
It was definitely emailed in,
Yep.
and, we're looking over right now to see.
It was on the 13th, so I'm just a little disappointed it wasn't acknowledged. But if it doesn't get, if the money doesn't get transferred over from 24 to 25, I will cut something out from 2025.
I don't think there should be a problem with it going through, there's just, Eileen had some personal family matters that were
Okay.
going on, so if it didn't make it in there, if we even have to do a special meeting to put the budget modification through, we
Because
can.
I know it has to be done before the end of the month.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we'll take care of that if it's
Okay.
not on here, so.
If anything, I'll figure something out with, buildings and grounds. I'll take
I'll speak
something.
to Eileen tomorrow.
To say that people, residents, didn't go to library board meetings or speak up at town board meetings for the last couple of years, Teresa, you may not, excuse me, Ms. Luongo, you haven't been to. When the board was different 3-4 years ago, I would ask, I'm not speaking loud enough for you, my dear? Thanks, kid. I didn't say that to her. I would attend some of the meetings, but I stopped going because I felt harassed and unwanted at some of the Board of Trustee meetings. I stopped coming to the town board meetings to make comments because it just fell on, to me, it fell on deaf ears because the board never responded to them. So to say that people have not come out and talked about the board of trustees or the library, you need to go back in some of the minutes and you can see people did speak about it. And I know the insurance gentleman is still here, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name, I apologize.
Stephen Thomas.
Stephen?
Stephen.
I'm Maria Hunter, nice to meet you. I understand about the insurance, I've said about this whole, I understand the coverage and all that. I never argued the coverage, it's just the way it was paid and who was responsible. Does anyone realize Monroe Woodbury School District owns the parking lot? Are we insured or indemnified from the school? God forbid a kid gets hit from school, or a patron goes to the library and gets hit or hurts in the parking lot, because we don't even own the entire sidewalk. Look at your deed, and I know this because I was asked to do this several years ago. It's what we call a flag lot. It's narrow and then it goes out wide. We do not own the parking lot, the school does. I need to know, going forward, are we covered with insurance one way or the other? Do we have to indemnify the school now and get something from them? Because now if we have to shovel or plow to make sure that it's open for the library and not the school, or vice versa, we really need to look into that, and that's something I think was never thought of with the insurance. Can't see without my glasses, I'm getting older. Statement of budget. And I think that's about it, but I want, I understand it took Teresa and Sandy, I'm going forward for, I know you did a lot of work on this with the library. I understand it, been there, done that, I've done my share. I appreciate what both of you have done, and I appreciate the board for what they've done. We do have something now in writing, but to say I'm happy the way it's going with the Board of Trustees, I am not happy with it.
Thank you, Maria.
Jacqueline Hernandez, Halamox.
Don't get too close.
All right, Jacqueline Hernandez. Halamox. I know I only have a limited amount of time, and there's a lot that I want to kind of discuss. I do want to just reference very quick, Sandy, in regards to the insurance, the concern was the town property being insured to the library. So there were two portions to it. There was one for the library property, of course, that made sense. And in our last comment, when you were on the phone, I said it makes sense that the library would be insured on their property, and the town, if the town covers it, that was fine. The concern was the Highland Mills location. If it's town property, why are we listing the library as insured? It should be only the town of Woodbury, because that's town property. Not the contents within it, but the actual property, because if something happened, we would have to rebuild that, and that would be our structure to rebuild. So that was the comment with the insurance, as far as that. So I just want to clarify that, but I have like a lot to say.
Okay.
So, thank you. I just want to clarify that. As far as relationships, I was a liaison when I was on the board, and I do believe Kathy and I did meet. And I believe that we worked on a lot of different things, that there were concerns. I also worked with Sarah, the director, and we talked about an expansion. So I was very much in support of many things that the library wanted to do. I think a lot of the conflict at that time was between Kathy as the chair and Frank, which I know I was publicly criticized for not keeping Frank in line. But I was a big supporter of the library as an educator, and a lot of the things I tried to do, unfortunately, I was not included. I even attended a meeting in which John Smith at that time, for those who know him, may he rest in peace, he was a big critic of the library. And I remember going to attend a meeting when they held it at the Smith Clove location, and I wasn't even acknowledged as a board member. So there was a lot of resistance to even me being the liaison at that time, but I worked very hard with them, in the best way that I could. So I do wanna make clear that when you make a comment, a blanket comment, please make it in reference to specific administrations. But I know as a liaison, when I was on that board, I worked very hard with Sarah, and I did attempt to make those compromises for when I was working with Kathy as well as everyone else.
My comment was that none of the former administrations, nobody realized that that building was basically not insured properly. That was my comment.
So for the library,
For for the building at Central Valley.
Central Valley, okay. So my comment wasn't in reference to that, it was in reference to the Highlandmost. But as far as my engagement, I'm talking now about the engagement. My engagement with the library, I support the library. And I was adamantly involved with that. Third item, which I'm probably not gonna have enough time, being that I spoke quite a bit, I do want to provide the board with a copy of a letter. I did speak with Christina Amato. For those who do not know, Christina Amato is the owner of 615, the building that currently houses all of the department buildings. Going back to the last board meeting, Supervisor Kate, you made a couple of comments, and me as a resident, my thought is if you're gonna make a comment, I wanna make sure that I get the full side of the story. And that's very important to me, because when we're talking about town property, and we talk about making the moves that we're making in our community, many of the things that was done, which I believe part of that was an indirect criticism of the previous administration, in that we tried to put all of our departments into one building in order for us to be ADA compliant, to meet the needs of the courts, and to provide a safe space for anybody, any resident, to come and visit the building. And so that, when we made that move to that building, the negotiations were put in place in order to accomplish that goal. I did contact Christina Amato because I did have a relationship with her prior to, when I was on it with Frank. And I asked her specifically a couple of questions. One of there was a number of items that the supervisor cited as the reason in which she wanted to move the assessor out of the building, as well as to move the supervisor. So in the conversation that I had with Ms. Amata, she actually responded to me in writing. I do not want to misquote what she said, so I will be providing the board with a copy of this. I do ask permission to read the letter. Yeah? Okay, thank you. Jackie, in response to your inquiry, I have viewed last month's meeting, and I'm disappointed to say the least. First and foremost, we are a small family business which my father started over 60 years ago. We have not only resided in an area, but have been a positive, contributing business member of the community since the 70s, renovating an otherwise fallow building, the old schoolhouse, into a tax-paying office building in the early 80s, where our business has resided since. We have had an amicable and working relationship with both Frank and Tom, the previous supervisors, over the past 6 years of the town's tenancy. 8 days into Supervisor Luciani's tenure, beginning in 2024, our office received a demand letter for damages from events which occurred in 2023 before she occupied the seat. These issues were consequently resolved with the previous supervisors. Over the course of the following 7 months, our officers were noticed with 5 more violations and various demand letters regarding locks on doors, bugs, water, including a complaint about snow removal after a late town meeting in which the supervisor acknowledges the snow had just started falling and that our snow maintenance team was at the building actively in the process of salting, but had not yet reached the steps she was exiting at that moment. We are acutely aware of the tactic to over-violate in attempts to create a record of neglect or default in hopes of breaking the leases originated and extended by Supervisor Luciani's predecessors. So I would like to clear the record, as expressly stated at the last town meeting, Supervisor Luciani states that she's moving the assessor's office because of flooding. It's infested with termites, in quotes, 6 floods last year, in quotes, and we refuse a month-to-month lease and a year-to-year lease. The assertions made by the supervisor's office is incorrect. We had a total of 5 water events over the past 6 years. In 2021, while Frank was supervising the second floor suite supervisor's office, the water leaked through the top of the window and puddled on the floor under the window. It happened during a significant rain and wind event, and it was immediately cleaned up and repaired with reinforced exterior flashing. The second water event occurred when Tom, supervisor, again during a major rainstorm in one of the basement units, the first of the 100-year storms we endured over those summers. We immediately addressed the water and had no further issue. Additionally, we had an independent mold test performed again with fully clean results. This past summer, after Ms. Luciani became supervisor, the region flooded multiple times, and we had 2 separate incidences in the basement units, both of which were addressed immediately, one as a result of a failed sump pump, the other clogged and overwhelmed exterior storm drain. I would like to note that the sump pump failure happened when there was no rain on a sunny day. We later found out that the town had a small, random puddle of water on the floor when it came in that morning. But instead of notifying us, someone knocked on our door to serve us with a violation in the late afternoon, as our attorney noticed in a lengthy response to the town's attorney. Finally, we must address the blatant abuse of tenant authority as the board of the township. It's in official capacity that the board has a right to issue violations to the businesses in the town that violate applicable laws. It is a blatant abuse of power to experience a potential issue that may arise to the level of violation as a tenant under the lease. Fail to notify the landlord of that potential issue in a timely manner as required by the lease. And C, subsequently send landlord a violation notice in tenant official capacity as the board. In a letter to the tenant dated on July 16, 2024, the landlord expressed its concerns regarding a water filtration incident where the tenant did not notify the landlord, but instead, once again, exercised self-help. She goes on to talk about the situation with the sump pump. While it is in the landlord's sincere hope to work together in an amicable way to resolve any issues that may arise, the landlord cannot condone an adversarial relationship that directly prevents the landlord's ability to manage the building effectively for the tenant and all the occupants. At this juncture, it's the landlord's firm position that all of these matters are resolvable with proper timely communication in accordance with the lease. The 6th asserted flood was public vandalism to the basement hallway bathroom, which caused the toilet to overflow in the hallway. Our cleaning crew found the water in the hall and prevented it from flowing into the basement units. She continues to explain what happened in that occurrence. To the termite claim, the building has a monthly pest service and always has. There are seasonal flies, insects every year, such as flies and wasps, that the pest service sprays for and comes to do treatment as needed. Regarding the lease of the assessor's space on the first floor, the lease on this space expired on December 31st, 2024. Per standard protocol, we offered a renewal letter for the space September 2024 for 10 years, per the other town leases and other commercial leases. Over a month later, after our manager inquired, Supervisor Luciani emailed on 10/28 regarding a year-to-year, month-to-month lease. Our office responded on 10/30 offering a 10-year lease. She continues to provide the email that was given by Supervisor Luciani, in which case it stated that she did not want, where they explained to Supervisor Luciani that they would provide a five-year lease. At that point, I asked her, what would you have negotiated less of a lease, less years of a lease? She said she would have. But unfortunately, she felt threatened because she was worried about retaliation, at which point she said no other correspondence was received from Supervisor Luciani. There was no correspondence to
Jackie, I'm
negotiate.
just gonna stop you there because you've gone over your time. I can take a copy of the
I
letter
will
and.
get that, but I did ask permission, and I'll just finish my comment, and I'll be done. The point that I'm making is, after speaking with Ms. Amato, she said that she would have given a one-year lease.
Well, that's not what her lawyer said, and that's not what the
She
said.
would have given a one-year lease had there been communication. But I will provide this letter for you for your review.
Thank you. And then Joey, maybe when you're ready, you can come up and speak on, some of the things that we had to deal with, because, I'm pretty sure once she read that email, you being the, building and grounds person and half the people that had to deal with it, I'd appreciate your input. Anybody else?
Gary Rose out of Mills. I wanna, address the motion to change, the meeting time to 6:30. I can honestly say that for myself, including a lot of other people that have to commute. I have to agree with Robert saying that, you know, when there are a lot of people that actually commute from the city, and I can tell you from personal experience, even if you're doing 90 up 87, you're not gonna get here until, getting out at 5 o'clock, doing, speeding up 87, you're not gonna get here until after 7 o'clock. And I think, it would be wise to reconsider, changing that time. And I know that you mentioned, the board has mentioned, that you are also considering the people that are also local, that, you know, they can't make the other time. But I can honestly tell you that, by my personal experience, it's making it more difficult, for people to get involved, by doing that, especially for the people that have to commute. That's, number one. The other issue, or the other thing that I wanted to point out, I did go over the memorandum, and thank you, Kate, for pointing it out. The one thing that I want to go over, that I want to get clarity on, is that the building department, is the building department aware of, the usage of the space of the building? Not just for office space, but are they aware that it's gonna be open to the public?
Yes.
The reason that I'd like to get a little bit more clarity on that, because during the last meeting, when, the board went upstairs, I believe it was to the second level, to, have a discussion, I can honestly tell you that I can hear your thoughts from down here. And that poses a concern when you think about the amount of equipment and people that are now gonna be reoccupying the space. And there's a concern of safety when you think about that. Now, are there going to be any, additional, certificates of occupancy in order to reflect, those concerns? In order to make sure that the building department is fully aware and have dealt with all of the issues in regards to the structure of the building in order to reoccupy it.
So when I gave, John Hand the report that I have up there from the engineer, and it said that the engineer, recommended that I get the certificate of occupancy, John Hand explained to me that that's not necessary because the building has been occupied and they got the proper permits while they were doing the work.
But what about updated codes, state codes and things to that effect? I mean, there's several things that actually have to be brought up to a specific codes. Have they also gone on to?
Like I said, whatever the report our engineer did, he did the whole report. John Hand looked at it, he saw the report that was given to him, so that would be a question for our engineer, and I can have him come next time if you'd like to explain better.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Joey, would you like to come up?
I wish I knew that letter was coming, because you would have been more prepared for the kind of rebuttal, but, they are not good landlords. I've been there for 5 or 6 years now. We've had multiple floods. We had a flood that burnt one of our computers up.
Yep.
And we asked them to pay for it, and they absolutely said no.
That's right.
right
They
from whoever that lady is, what, am I right in saying that?
Yeah, they never rectified it.
They
She
never
said it's
rectified
all
it, they said you have insurance, we have a $2,000 deductible, so we really, our computer costs $2,200. We had to go get a new computer monitor. So, we've had multiple water issues, we have some big water issues. Yes, did they come, they cleaned it up? Yes, they did, but with our help. They didn't even know we had a sump pump in the records room, okay? Brad found it one day, like, wow, there's a sump pump here. They had no idea, okay? They had concrete down the storm drains that the water can't go down. So that letter is very misleading, okay? And I do not believe, okay, I'm not a plumber, but I do, I do know stuff. I don't believe it was vandalism in the bathroom. I believe it was just the pipe burst and that was it. And let me say this, if the cleaning lady wasn't there, and I believe Laura Morrison worked till late that day, we would have been in 2 feet of water in our office, because that thing would just kept going and going and going. Snow plowing, they're terrible, okay? They're terrible. We're the last ones to get plowed, because I know they take care of their condos. But from personal experience working there, we've had multiple floods, and stuff of the stuff they got violations for, they deserve violations. Outside the drain, that was collapsing, they had to fix that. There was a piece of metal sticking up, they had to fix that. We opened the window in the wreckage room and the window fell apart. They had to fix that. And we did, we had termites. The whole office in the clerk's office was full of termites. You know what they said? This is upstairs. I'm not saying the lady said it. Upstairs, go get an exterminator. We don't own the building, you own the building, okay? They're not very friendly, okay?
Not even that, Joey, can I just cut in?
Okay, go ahead.
Did they or did they not come with the spray that was only meant for outside and sprayed inside the building for the termites?
And it wasn't.
told us that.
And then I made a mistake, and it was on me. I got them, bombs, not realizing the smoke detectors. Well, it went on in 10 minutes, and the alarm went off, and it was a crazy day that day. Heidi was very pissed off at us, because I don't know if I can say that, but she was very upset with us. And it was an honest mistake. We're trying to get rid of the rest of the flies and stuff. But again, that letter is misleading. Okay, there might be some stuff in there, yes, but it is definitely misleading. And being there for the last whatever years, we've had multiple floods. Absolutely had multiple floods. And again, I reiterate, we had damage, and they said, we're not gonna take care of it. Again, no negotiation, I can't speak to that, because I'm not part of it.
Can I just cut in also with the sub pumps? Weren't we having multiple flooding?
Yeah.
And then after numerous flooding is when finally Brad was outside with the man. And that's when Brad found out that there was a sub pump, and I have the pictures where Brad pulled the sub pump out, and he pulled the pipes out, and it was literally congested with leaves and everything inside of it, and their own maintenance person didn't even know. And every single time we knocked on Heidi's door to let her know, right?
Yes.
And then we had to take care of it, and our building and grounds guys came and cleaned it up.
So again,
They
on the
were
floods,
informed,
yes.
and as for the thing with the meeting that night,
So,
it did not
yeah.
snow during the meeting.
Yeah, I've actually-
It snowed that day.
I've actually walked through the water, I've actually been out in the rain. They have drains that go to the outside that are pointing back at the building. They're the wrong level. And I went out there and I was like, all right, I'll run home, I'll get a shovel, get a pickaxe, not allowed to touch it. Not allowed to touch it. Can't touch the outside of the property. The gutters are overfilling and pouring down by the AC units, okay? I was outside in the rain. I was out there with Phil, remember?
Yep, no, again.
I've been
I
in
have a
there.
video of Tracy in rain boots, going through about 2 inches of water through the entire office. They were not puddles, the whole office was. And what I was told was, you knew we had flooding issues, put the desk up on cinder blocks, put the computers up on cinder blocks. That's what we were told by Heidi.
And that should not have to be with the money we spend in rent there. That they're not good neighbors, whatever word you wanna use. Again, maybe that lady that wrote the letter doesn't have all the information, but I know that we have every date that's documented with water. And I knew if the letter was here, we would have that here and kinda show people, but the letter is definitely misleading. But I wanna let you know, definitely have problems, knock on whatever, it's been pretty good lately. But again, There's issues that they didn't even know about, and, so hopefully they did rectify them, so hopefully we go move forward. But the letter is misleading, just so everybody knows that.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. All right, now we'll move on to board member, Maria, do you have anything for beautification?
Nothing tonight.
Martha, do you have anything for?
So tomorrow, we have our, tomorrow.
Like,
Oh. Tomorrow we have our Valentine's Day adults party from 7 to 10. There'll be food, there'll be refreshments, dancing, DJ Vernick. And there'll be, it's beautifully decorated already, so, yes, so if anybody in the public, wants to come, please, register with, Joey.
we have 50 already signed.
Yeah, we already have 50 people, attending, so it's gonna be a great night. Next week on Friday, we have Our Lady and the Tramp, Valentine's Puppy Love movie. We'll have a little craft, with cookies and making spaghetti on the cookies with meatballs. And we're already planning for next month, so, I'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about those events, so. All right, have a good night.
Thank you. Kathy, do you have anything
No.
on it? Okay, now we'll move on to Councilmember Craig Leoni. There we go, Brandon.
Thank you everyone for coming out. I really just want to reiterate, I think every board member's feeling about, former Mayor Queenan. I had known that he had been ill, and I prayed every night that he was gonna pull through. Mike was one of the toughest individuals that I've ever met. We started off on a bad foot. We were political foes, running against each other, his team against my team for the village back in 2009. And then I dogged him because when he won the mayoral position, he was also on the town board, and I dogged him at every meeting. When was he gonna resign from the town board? When was he gonna resign from the town board? Because I felt it was a conflict. And, he finally did. And we went back and forth for a few years. I attended every one of his meetings, always had something to say. But through it all, we ended up finding common ground and mutual respect. And it's just such a great loss. Like I say, he was one of the toughest men I knew, but he also had a heart of gold. And the things that he cared about, like his cats and his grandson, and I feel terrible that he was very excited about his second grandchild that he'll never see. But I know he's up there watching over all of us, but I'm gonna miss him. And I think the community as a whole will miss him as well. So, God bless you, Mike.
Thank you, Sandy. Councilmember Clory.
All right, as always, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I'd also like to take this time to talk about former mayor and my friend Mike Queenan. I didn't know Mike for long, but you didn't need to know him for long in order to understand the man. Mike and I met when I first ran for town council. He, along with others, imparted words of wisdom and guidance throughout my campaign. Mike was a straight shooter, something so rare nowadays, but so very much appreciated by me. I remember him calling me up one day. I had just finished a section of Timber Ridge, and in his very calm, composed demeanor asked, "Hey, Calori, you get anything done today?" I told him, I said, "I just got done with the left side of Timber Ridge." He goes, "Well, get the right side done tomorrow." So, of course I did. Mike and Karen opened up their home to me, just as Joanne and I did for him. We'd talk and joke. He'd tell me stories, campaigns, and past endeavors. I learned a lot from him, and he was always supportive of me. And for that, I'll always be grateful. Mike was a friend in an arena that doesn't allow many friendships, but you always knew exactly where you stood with him. So in closing, my prayers go out to his family and friends during this time. May you find some comfort among each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Deputy Supervisor Longo.
I wanna thank everyone for coming out tonight despite the crazy weather. And to have some words about former Mike Queenan. I met him about, it's almost 3 years, or a little over 3 years ago, and, it was while, Kate was running for state assembly, and she needed a treasurer, so she asked me, and I had no clue how to do campaign finances. So Mike was there to kind of teach me everything, sat there right next to me, and then he would say, okay, now you have to do it, and I would be so nervous just because I didn't know him that well, and he's like a big guy, and like, you know, can sometimes come off, you know, stern, and so I was a little scared, but, definitely, taught me so much, and then, you know, became a friend and like a father figure. Got me to join the Lions Club, the Republican Committee. We volunteered so many times together, through the Lions Club, and just, you know, he would tell me so many stories and just about life, not even just politics, but, definitely offered a lot of good advice, said a lot of stuff that I didn't wanna hear, but I know I needed to hear. I don't think the man was ever wrong. And I'm gonna miss him a lot. He was just, you know, a great man, and I know the whole community is going to miss him and what he did for Woodbury. Today's also National Love Your Pet Day. So today's a perfect day, celebrate your pet, give them extra treats, love, take pictures, share it with your friends and family. I'm a big animal lover, in case you haven't figured that out. You could honor your pet by donating to local animal shelter. Any money or supplies goes a long way. And also make sure your pet is up to date with vaccinations, and specifically if you have a dog, make sure they're licensed. You can do that through the clerk's office. And just want everyone to stay warm, be safe, and have a good night.
Deputy Town Clerk Lopez.
Well, this has been fun.
Great job.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I never had the pleasure of actually meeting Mike Queenan. I know that he has touched many lives in the community and beyond. I just wish his family and friends and loved ones all my condolences.
Thank you, Kelly. Alright, so to go off what everybody else has said, this has been very difficult the past few weeks, you know, hearing everything that's gone on. Just like Teresa said, you know, Mike was like another father to me. He was very tough. He was a tough Irishman, just like my dad. And I said, just what I need, another tough Irishman, you know. And, you know, first time I met Mike was, I remember Tara Gerber called me up and she was like, the mayor wants to talk, Mike Queenan wants to talk to you. And I was like, the mayor? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, why me? And he called me and he had me on the phone for a while and he asked me a whole bunch of different questions, and he told me this wonderful story about when he met Karen Unger and how, you know, she applied for,
Zoning board.
thank you, the zoning board, and the reasons why she chose to go on the zoning board. And it was because of personal experiences, and he said those are the best people that, you know, want to do a job because it's personal to them and they see what they could do. And he said, and that's you, you know, and he took me along the entire way and held my hand and did my petitions, and we, all of us on this board know, you know, Mike would not let you do anything on your petitions without him sitting there and watching you and guiding you. You could not sign, you could not put your address until he was sat there and he watched exactly what you did. Don't go ahead of me, you know, and that's how he was. And, you know, he always had, like, just had a way with him, you know, and I told all of you guys, Tracy recently, you know, it's like, one day I was so upset and he came to my house and it was just giving me such a hard time, and I went outside and I started crying and I said, why are you giving me such a hard time? And he said, because I believe in you. And I was like, and then I stopped crying just like Brandon, and I said, okay, I'll go back out and knock on more doors. And like, that was his way of dealing with you, you know, he had faith in you and he knew that you could do it. He would push you until he saw exactly what you needed to put through for that. And, you know, I love my board. I love the fact that we all had a great relationship with him. Sandy shared his last meeting as, you know, town mayor, the village mayor, you know, and it summed Mike's life up so much, you know. It's like all these people came up and just spoke about what a wonderful man he was and what a wonderful mayor he was. And then, you know, Mike was like, oh, I didn't have a speech, you know, and we just went on. And, you know, Mike cared, and when he ended it, the one thing that he said to me that stuck out was he cared so much about this community, and he kept saying it is not the town versus the village, it's not the village against the town, it's not neighbor against neighbor, it's not this one against that one. He said, we're all one Woodbury. And then I understood why, when I ran, he wanted me to call our running team One Woodbury, because Mike's whole time, all he ever wanted was for everybody to work together. He just wanted that peace. And, you know, when I first moved to this community, John Burke and Mike Queenan worked so well together. They may not have been friends, they may not have got along all the time, but they had meetings together, they had luncheons together, they met with community members, because they both had the same idea, which was to put Woodbury first, you know. And Mike always took his ego and put it aside. And, you know, towards the end, I mean, it was hard for me because there were things that were happening in the town, and I always wanted to call him and tell him, but I was so afraid I was gonna stress him out, because he would get so upset when he would hear things that were going wrong, because he kept saying, what's happening to my Woodbury, you know, and that's how he viewed it. He viewed it as his Woodbury, that he tried so hard. But I'm happy because, you know, the last conversation I had was on his birthday, and I told him, you know, have an extra piece of cake, and, you know, that was Mike, that was all of our Mike. And, you know, I will miss him. I feel horrible for what his family's going through, you know, but, you know, Teresa and I always say, like, we'll have him there guiding us, and we went back to our association of towns after his funeral, and we were both sitting there, and this man just walked right past us, and he looked just like Mike, and he was walking just like Mike, and it was like, you know, and, I know he'll always be there for me, guiding me along and making sure that, you know, we continue to do the right thing, so, you know, I love him, miss him, and, you know, and like I said, grateful that I have a whole board that knew that man and understood him. So, with that, can I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Good night, everybody get home safe.